Well, hello, everybody out there in Internet land. Hi, and how are you doing? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to Chattin On The Porch, a fun little live stream that we occasionally do, either by myself solo or with guests. And tonight we have two of the best guests that you could find to talk about some of the biggest things going on in the North American continent. And yes, I am very specific when I say the North American continent, because we are going to the Great North tonight to talk about some of the craziness going on up there among them Canucks. We are on YouTube, we are on Twitter, and we are on Rumble. So please do me some favors, as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do so. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Rumble, and by the way, folks, we are 6 subscribers away from 1,000 on YouTube. God bless you guys. You are kick butt awesome. I love all of you. We are on Rumble at the Front Porch Conservative. We are on Twitter at the Front Porch C1. So go ahead and subscribe to me on all those places. Help a brother out. We are a going little concern. We'd like to be a going big concern, and we can do that with you. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the beau in the chapeau. Sometimes I'm called the common man with common sense. But I am, above all else, at this moment and going forward, your host. Again, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment in chat, share the link around, do all those things that you guys do that make this thing go. And believe me, without you, it don't go nowhere. We are glad you guys are here tonight for a late night session of Chatting on the Porch, and I'll explain why momentarily. I can see that people are starting to fill in on both sides, and it's going to be a good little crowd as always. Yes, I am. Professor, I am jubilant tonight. I am in a genuinely good mood. Genuinely good mood indeed. Okay, let's just jump right in because the hour is late and my guests are here, and bless their hearts, they have lives and children and lives, and translation, they have things that I don't. But anyway, as you guys know, there is some news that broke on Monday that, how shall I put this? It wasn't unexpected, but it was still kind of surprising. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation. Well, you know, all of us down here in the lower 48 who ain't got good sense, nor do we understand Canadian politics, said, woohoo, he's gone. Well, then my good buddy from the Third Railify channel is like going out to Twitter going, no, you bunch of bleep, 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 he's not gone yet. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a second. I got to get some perspective on this. So I reached out to Shawn, and I reached out to a young lady who we're going to introduce here in just a moment. This is her first time on the electronic front porch, and I'm tickled to death to have her here tonight because between the three of us, we're going to sort this thing out. So let me go ahead and bring in my good buddy from the Third Railify. You know him, you love him. He's been here before. Say hello to my good buddy, Shawn. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hello, my little ducklings. How are you guys doing?
Whack, whack. We're doing good, brother. How are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing all right. It's a chilly day up here in the Great White North. It's cold.
Well, I can tell you broken out the leopard print, man.
I did. I choose this leopard print specifically because everyone likes to comment on it. So you're welcome. Chat.
Well, thank you, and I do appreciate that your fashion sense that you're bringing to this electronic front porch session very much.
Well, I mean, otherwise, it's Sesame Street, or it's, I don't know, a hipster Yorkie with the Christmas hat on, or you know, that kind of stuff. So
okay.
This keeps me warm, man. It's cold out there.
Well, you know, it's better leopard print than Mr. Snuffleupagus. That's all I'm saying. So, you know,
Snuffleupagus, he was cool.
Yeah, he was cool, but I mean, you know, it's a little. I mean, getting the snout in the whole camera thing is going to be a little bit difficult. I mean, you know, just saying. You know, and with that, let me introduce my next guest. She is a former reporter at Rebel News. She covers Saskatchewan for RN, and has also been involved in events related to Tommy Robinson over in Great Britain, singing at some of the events there. She has her own YouTube channel under the name of Kelly Lamb. And with that, please welcome to the Electronic Front Porch for the very first time as a guest, Miss Kelly Lamb. Kelly, how are you doing tonight?
Hello, I am great, and I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Oh, it is an absolute, yeah, because we were talking backstage, and she had popped into my chat on the recommendation of a friend of hers. Said, "Hey, I found this weirdo. You might want to check him out." But he acts like he knows what he's talking about. And she came in, and the Fedora Nation is probably one of the friendliest audiences in the whole of the internet.
Nice.
And my people were like, "Yep, we like her." I said, "Yeah, we got to talk." So when this whole Trudeau thing broke loose, I was like, "All right, I got to get both y'all on here because I got to get straightened out about this." So let us just dive right in. And Shawn, I'm going to start this with you. As I said in my intro, when I heard that Justin had decided to resign, I went, hot dog, we got rid of it. And immediately you went to Twitter and you, short of cussing everybody out, you're like, no, he's not gone, you nitwits. He's still here. For the benefit of the audience and to straighten me out, let's just start here. What the heck is going on? Is he still prime minister? Is he not prime minister?
He is. He is prime minister.
Okay.
He is prime minister. He still enjoys the RCMP bodyguards. He still enjoys I don't know, our equivalent of Air Force One, which is a dilapidated. It's so bad. If you guys saw what our leader flies in, you'd probably, I don't know, chuckle to yourself. It's quite poor. So he still has that. It's like a broken down cargo jet.
It's like a World War I biplane or something. I'd heard that
Something like that. It's got a small office in it, and that's basically it. Everyone just straps in into the back. It's anyway. So he still enjoys that. He still enjoys the prime minister's office. He still enjoys going to fancy places like CNN and being called Mr. Prime Minister, and going to world leaders' funerals and all of that stuff. And he'll get to do that for at least 90 more days, unless he has some tricks up his sleeve. Which, I mean, there could always be more tricks up his sleeve.
Okay. Now, Kelly, let me throw this over to you. So he's still in. Now, the language that he used in his presser is that he went to the something general. What is the term I'm looking for here?
I believe it was the Governor General.
Thank you, Governor. Yeah. He went to the Governor General and asked for Parliament to be suspended. Am I stating that?
Prorogued is the fancy term, i.e. they still get paid tax dollars, but nothing happens for the next 3 months. So and it's really just delaying an election. And it's sorry, go ahead and ask your question before I rant.
So let me make sure I understand this. So basically, he, for lack of a better term, went to the Governor General and said, will you please recess Parliament? Am I saying that correctly?
You look like you have something to say. Go ahead, Shawn, if you want to dive in there.
It's a sneaky little thing. And I also just want to point out the Governor General is effectively the placeholder for the king.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
So if the king were in town, then Trudeau would have gone to him. To prorogue Parliament is to it's a very sneaky, aggressive pause. Mm-hmm. So any bills or anything at all that was in there, dead, absolutely dead. They still get paid. They still get to do their job, but they don't get to do any job. And there's no way to bring it back. Like it is what it is. It's basically Trudeau has stopped Canadian democracy.
Correct. Yeah. I think he explained that better than I would have. So
basically it's this. Now, I had heard from various sources in the press that if Trudeau had not pulled this move that you just described, going to the Governor General and saying, "Would you prorogue?" Okay, here in my West
works.
All right,
it's like it's like a pierogi, but less delicious.
There you go. Okay. Way less delicious.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Ellie knows what's up. I like her already.
I'm from Ukrainian country. Yeah.
Okay, here's my poor West Virginian. Here's what we got. People like me got to do. We got to go prorogue. Okay, we're proroguing. So he prorogues Congress or Parliament. Excuse me. I'm too used to dealing with our idiots down here. So he prorogues Parliament. Now, what I had heard in the press, and either one of you can jump in on this, basically, if he didn't do this, the members of the Liberal Party would have taken a vote and said, buddy, like that umpire at a baseball game, you out of here. I mean, am I hearing that correctly?
Well, his cabinet was falling apart, peeping down. There's been scandals left, right, and center. Jordan Peterson, not too long ago, interviewed one of the gals who spoke quite strongly against him, basically implied she was pretty diplomatic about it, but he's a narcissist, essentially, and not a real nice guy to work with. Probably not the feminist he claims to be. But yeah, massive amounts of
feminists are predators.
Yeah, he's a bit of a hypocrite, you might say. Not that I'm a feminist myself, but he certainly isn't what he doesn't practice what he preaches. And so there's just been endless mess going on. And so, yes, it was likely that would have happened. And there was an imminent election coming up at some point this year. People were hoping it might have been maybe spring. This means that it's probably going to get bumped to, I'm guessing, back to October, which is kind of the latest it can be. So, yeah, people were upset with him and he's not representing the party well. So officially what he's done is step down as leader of the party. But as Shawn said, he is still technically, unfortunately, the leader of our country. And now, yeah, democracy is just sitting here at a sort of important time when, the Americans are wanting to make us the 51st state and there's all kinds of trade agreements that really need to be dealt with. And it's just dead in the water and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, one little interesting tidbit that sort of gets lost out there, and it's kind of funny. One of the reasons we are in this situation that Canada finds itself is because of the minority government. It's deal with the devil with the New Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Its leader, Jagmeet Singh, actually, who wanted his pension that comes comes to sometime in February, mid-February, sometime, and that's why there was a lot of bloviating, a lot of talking about, we're gonna hold him to task. We really mean it. I can't wave this finger any harder.
Oh yeah,
To which the press would say, so you're gonna do the vote of non-confidence. Oh no, not yet. It's on the table. I'm still wagging. Uh-huh. It's on the table, but not yet.
Gotta wait till you get that pension. So right. Yeah, that's basically what is it? 6 years you have to be, and then you basically get paid by the taxpayer forever. So he's just got to hang on to the bitter end. And if anyone out there doesn't know, the NDP is even more left-leaning than the Liberals. They are essentially our socialist party.
So as Kelly very astutely points out, it's 6 years. You need to be in Canadian federal government to get a pension worth multi-million dollars. It's like $2.5-3 million this pension is worth. The members of Parliament that were elected in the 2019 election.
Okay.
And there's many of them. A lot of government changed over then. Our election is scheduled for the 21st of October. It has to be that day. And their term or whatever ends a day short. So they'll have to win the next. No, it's they're maybe I'm getting them mixed up, but anyways, it's a day short.
Okay.
So if they don't win, they don't get their pension, even though they've done 6 years less a day. And so there was a bill in Parliament to be like, you know what, we're just going to amend it just for a day, so all of these government officials, they can still have their pension I mean, come on. They've been here for 6 years, less than a day. Come on, we have hearts, right? That bill is dead. Justin Trudeau killed it. And he has essentially screwed over so many of his Liberal MPs because this party is going to get annihilated. God willing, please, God willing, going to get annihilated. So all of these members of Parliament are toast.
Okay, now let me pop something up in chat because I see a gentleman here named Space Dave 2000 says it was amended it was amended a week forward actually. Okay, so that might have some bearing on. And by the way, Space Dave with $2 Canadian. Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. Trudeau will not be missed. He was a cancer on us.
Amen,
buddy. Let me just tell you something, Space Dave. I am not oh, wait a minute. Attempted to amend forward a week, I think is what Space Dave is trying to say here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me just say something to you, Space Dave. I may not be a Canadian, but let me tell you something. I am tickled to death to see you guys get rid of this panty waste of a prime minister. This guy, he may not be a feminist, but he's just, oh, Lord, no. I mean, he
an
got
embarrassment. I just have to say, you know, aside from all of the specifics of what's going on, just from a 40,000 foot bird's eye view, I have never seen Canada mentioned so many times in international media in a negative and so embarrassing light. He has just been a nightmare. Everything he says is ridiculous. He's impossible to listen to. I usually just read the transcript because I can't stand it. It's so embarrassing. And I mean, there's lots that has to still be dealt with over the next few months, and it's not all positive. So it wasn't a celebration for me fully when he retired, but when he stepped down, but to not have to hear his voice anymore or see his smug face is a blessing.
It
Absolutely.
gives me nausea. I get triggered. I can't hear his voice. I get triggered.
No, me too. I understand. Yeah, I hear you.
I understand. To me, he's like the Gavin Newsom. I mean, if I had to find an equivalent for him, okay, I swear he reminds me so much of Gavin Newsom.
I think they're buddies, if I remember.
Well, I don't know what kind of buddies.
Pretty sure he went down to California. There's some pictures with him and Gavin, isn't there?
Okay, I don't want to know what kind of pictures there are with him and Gavin.
We won't even go there.
They're cut from the same arrogant, narcissistic, egotistical predator cloth. Him and Emmanuel Macron and Newsom. They're all the same kind of person, and they're bad people.
Yes,
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Crawled out of the same lizard people nest, and they're like, "I'm going to be world leader." Like, I mean, it's that kind of person. They are, I don't, for lack of a better word, evil.
Oh, I don't. After what I'm watching happen out in California right now at the hands of Gavin Newsom, evil's about the only word I can use to describe the guy. WWG1 over on Rumble says Trudeau may not be a feminist, but he sure is feminine. Buddy, you could have said that any better than I could have. Yeah, your words are perfect, my friend.
I don't know. Listen, man, I thought his pink fucking Barbie sweater that was masculine. So
it wasn't pink. It was salmon. Come on now, it wasn't pink.
Listen, salmon's a mighty fish. I will not let you disgrace that fish like that.
Okay, let's get this thing back on track. So, Trudeau prorogues Parliament. Now, the reports that I read state that, generally speaking, each year in Canada, Parliament presents its budget usually around late March or early April. Now, the reports that I've been reading are basically saying if there's going to be a vote of no confidence that forces an election early, that's when Trudeau's enemies, be it either in his own party or in the Conservative Party, which we'll get to, Pierre Poilievre. Momentarily. Poilievre.
Hey, if you don't speak French, just say Poilievre.
Poilievre is fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Pierre works as well.
Poilievre. Okay. Polly want a cracker. All right. Yeah. Pierre Polly want a cracker. Okay. Is basically that's what the anticipation is right now in Canada, that come late March or early April, when the budget is supposed to be presented. I mean, okay, here's my next question. Does Parliament even come back in now that Trudeau has made this move, or what happens up now at this stage?
Kelly, do you want to take this one?
Well, my understanding is, and I could be wrong on this, but so he essentially resigned until such a time as they have a leadership race and choose a new leader through a robust process, as he says. Although that's another joke in itself, because I think it's anyone over 14 and foreign nationals can vote. It's an absolute nightmare. People have been joking about signing their dog up or just, picking some random leader. It's an absolute joke. So it's not robust.
Guatemala can fucking vote.
It's ridiculous. It's not robust at all, unless that word has changed meaning. But basically, we have to wait until there's a leadership, race, and then from there, I suppose, we could move forward as usual. But I think everything is just kind of up in the air, as far as my understanding is. But I could be wrong about the budget side of things. I don't know how they're going to do anything with the budget. Mind you, it doesn't matter, because as Trudeau so eloquently put at the beginning of his reign of terror, the budget will balance itself. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about
it.
Oh, he actually said that. You can look it up.
He has said a couple things regarding budgets. One of them was it's fine because the budgets balance themselves.
They do, yeah.
He also said something about how he's not interested in the numbers and how they work. He's got people for that. Yeah. And you're like, oh, we are
comforting, right?
We are in heckin' a lot of trouble.
I pray to God that his ex-wife was the one that took care of the checkbook. Otherwise, he's going to the poorhouse fast.
No, because we took care of the checkbook.
We did, yeah. It was just a kid with the credit card. That's all he was. He just was a kid with the credit card, and he just blew the money wherever he felt like it.
So one of the main things is so the thing that we're waiting on is the report of how is it the fall budget or whatever that just from last year that never came, the fall budget, and we were promised they were gonna go into deficit just a tiny bit, something like deficit $20 billion or $40 billion or something like that, just a smudge. It turned out that it was like $20 or $30 billion extra in debt, and we don't have anything for it. I mean, we have people that shouldn't be here leeching off of us, shitting in our streets. That might not be a Saskatchewan problem, but it is in Ontario.
I've seen the videos, sadly. It's more of an Ontario thing, although the immigration thing has spread everywhere. And even in my nearby, very small city, maybe 50,000 people, immigration has shifted the landscape very quickly and very, very obviously. But yeah, Ontario is a whole different world. Actually, my friend Dave that commented earlier came from Brampton, which is sort of colloquially known as Bangladesh, so he understands.
Brampton.
He's not there anymore. He's in the West. God bless him. He's
like
out
Bangladesh or whatever they call it. They call it all kinds of things. But
yeah, it has some names. So
so we were waiting for this budget, and it never came, and it never came, and it never came, and then we were getting little birdies coming out being like, yo, it's bad. And then they're like, but how bad is it? Well, you're not going to find out because there's other things going on, and it just never came. And so we wanted the non-confidence vote, but again, Jagmeet Singh, he was bed buddies with Trudeau, figuratively, of course, and we just couldn't get this non-confidence vote to pass. And then now we're here. So Trudeau, he's still prime minister, and he's still technically the leader of the party.
Technically, yeah.
Technically, and
until they find someone new.
The way that this is allegedly supposed to play out up until March, whatever, is supposed to be the Liberal Party puts forth some really good candidates. And I mean, if you knew the fucking clown show we had already forming, Mark Carney and Melanie Jolie, who, I mean, once upon a time, I'm sure she was pretty. I'm sure of it. And Chrystia Freeland and some other Muppet. I forget their name.
Karina Gould, I believe, is on there as well.
Yes. You know what? Interesting about that.
You have a ghoul running around up there?
Gould. Okay. You know, she looks and sounds and acts exactly like my ex-wife. And so whenever I see her talk or speak, I get triggered almost as bad as Trudeau. It's weird. It's like it's a weird doppelganger thing. That's
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know, side tidbit. But anyways, yeah, these people are running. But these people were also heavily linked to Trudeau, and we don't the foreign affairs minister. So our person that goes to countries to deal with it, like other countries to deal with things, she's a moron. I'm pretty sure she Kamala Harris her way to that cabinet position.
Yeah, can't prove it, but I don't know how she got it otherwise. And there's always been the theories about him being Trudeau and her and their, trips together and everything else. I mean, nothing would surprise me about any of this at this point. But she was not in a position to do something that important with geopolitics, put it that way.
Oh boy.
There's always that meme about gentlemen, find yourself a woman that looks at you the way Melanie Jolie looks at Justin Trudeau. She's all like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to fondle you later." And he's like, "I know, I got nice socks." And
oh God.
And she's dumb. She's dumb as like a doorpost. Like, I mean, exactly. And I don't know how she got into that position. And then you have Mark Carney, who was our former head of the bank, and then he was he went to England to be their head of their bank, and he's a globalist, and he's a WEF puppet, like really bad. Then Chrystia Freeland, the deputy PM and finance minister, she's an extra big globalist and WEF puppet. Nobody likes any of these people. And and Gould, she was the one that's like, "Oh my God, let's celebrate this Ukrainian fellow in parliament. It's going to be great. It's fine that he's a Nazi." Like, I mean, these are the people that think that they should be leader of the party. And I mean, I guess that's fine. Pick the most awful fucking person you can, because you're going to get annihilated anyways.
Right. Okay. Yeah, pick the worst you can.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second. It sounds to me, and again, you guys know your country's politics better than I do. I'm simply here trying to soak it all up, because there's what I read in the press, and there's what the hell's really going on. And I'd rather get what the hell's really going on from people who are there and know what the hell they're talking about. It sounds to me, from an American's point of view, that the Liberal Party of Canada has, how do I want to describe this? Has reached the point that, for lack of a less crass term, political and intellectual inbreeding has led to the thumb-sucking, buck-tooth version of what was once a powerful political party. I mean, basically, these guys are on their last legs. They're flying on fumes politically. Trudeau is absolutely in the tank as far as his popularity. Everybody associated with Trudeau is in the tank as far as their popularity. And it doesn't matter who comes out of this leadership fight as the leader of the Liberal Party. They're basically, shifting around the deck chairs on the Titanic while the boat's going down. Am I describing this accurately?
That's pretty close. I will say this, that my only concern is that they're going to stick a woman in as leader, which potentially could be, say, Melanie Jolie. Now, Chrystia Freeland, I don't think is liked or likable by almost anyone. Some of your American viewers may recall various clips during the trucker convoy. She was the one who was gleeful about basically shutting down people's bank accounts and freezing their bank accounts. She's just awful. And there's a whole history of her. I believe it was her grandfather. Maybe there's Nazi history. I can't remember the specifics, but not good. Not a likable person. Now, I'm not saying I like any of these people, and I'm not saying they're likable, but we have to remember, and I'm an ex-lefty. That's part of my story. So I red pilled pretty hard in 2017, 2018. And came to my senses, essentially. And I have to remind people of how woke Canada is, though. We do have even our Conservative Party and our conservatives here are pretty centrist. By American standards, we're not very conservative. And so there's a lot of people who are very either normie, apathetic, just don't care, don't pay attention. Oh, I don't like politics, but I'll read the headlines and I'll vote and tank your country anyway. And then there's a lot of woke people. And so lately, the Liberal Party, it looks like, even Trudeau is likely going to lose his seat as an MP.
Whoa.
And and there's, I think, 4 or 5 that are going to go to the NDP. Hard to say, though. Polling, polling is really inaccurate here as elsewhere.
Sure.
So my concern is only that with the woke population, if they stick a woman in as leader, Are they going to try to sell, just like with Kamala, the whole feminist empowerment thing? And how many people will that fool? Because I know people that would actually, unfortunately, be enough for, oh my gosh, first women prime minister.
Kim
Second.
Campbell,
We had one years ago. I know, years
ago.
What was she? Not very long. I mean, inconsequential. She was our first prime minister.
It was like 1993 for like 6 months.
Yeah, very short. But not the first. So I'm curious if that would make a difference and maybe get a little more support than Trudeau, but I don't think it would be enough to tip the scale. I think at this point, as you said, they're done, and they're not okay, considering how much money and elitism, the sort of Laurentian elite is what we would call it up here, that they've had behind them. Yeah, they're in rough shape. Trudeau has done enormous damage, not just to the party, but to our country. And so, yeah, it's a mirage of what it used to be, I guess. Whether you liked them or not, at least it had some legitimacy. I feel like that veneer is gone.
Let me get some comments in over on the Rumble side. WWG1, who's one of the regular wingnuts who frequents that wonderful little space, says, you may not want to call it immigration, but it's more like an invasion. The parliamentary system reminds me of Robert's Rules of Order, so screwed up and unfair. Parliament is democracy, it's mob rule, 2 wolves and a sheep deciding over dinner. Do any of your guests agree with any of my comments above? Well, WWG1, I'll ask them. So,
only we had a well-armed lamb to contest the vote.
Indeed. Let me ask you guys something. Shawn, you used the term they're going to get annihilated in the next election. So let's just play out this scenario because, all right, if you don't know this, that's fine, and I didn't look it up beforehand. First question: how many seats are there in Parliament in Canada?
335.
335.
Yeah, 338. That's
338. How many seats does the Liberal Party hold?
Oh, just like
what is the number now?
Third of them.
So about 100, 110, 120, somewhere in there?
Something like that. Not a lot.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so let's just call it 120 and say they've got the majority, but it's the skinniest majority they're ever going to have. When you say, Shawn, they're going to get annihilated, how bad could this get? Because, wait, before you answer, as I understand it, you've got the Liberal Party who is, in cahoots, that's the technical political term, in cahoots with Jagmeet Singh's party, and kind of together they have this kind of rough coalition going. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to be, the NDP is supposed to be an opposition party, but they're not. And that's the joke that Shawn was talking about, is he's supposed to be all rough and tough and talking big about how he's going to hold Trudeau to account, but he doesn't. Nothing ever happens. And they end up ultimately voting the same way. So they might as well be a uniparty. Yeah.
Okay. So Shawn, when you say they're going to get annihilated, let's just assume that, these two parties are really one, like Kelly's describing. Roughly speaking, how bad could this get? I mean,
what I saw in predictions is that Poilievre is looking at a conservative supermajority that we've never seen before. Something like 200 to 220 seats. The Liberals are going to be decimated almost to not even party status. The Bloc might actually do the Quebec Federal Party, the Bloc de Québécois, are likely going to pick up, and the NDP are probably going to lose a couple, maybe gain a couple, but be pretty stagnant. It's just everywhere is going blue because we have to. What's actually tragic? So our conservatives are pretty centrist compared to America, right?
Right.
I mean, our most conservatives in the Conservative Party are maybe center right, and our most right wing party, the PPC, that's probably about where they start. Sadly, because everyone wants Trudeau and the Liberals out, the PPC, which actually made pretty good gains, they're probably going to get wiped out as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
because
that's
everyone
actually
just needs Poilievre to.
They're so scared of splitting the vote because Trudeau just is such a disaster, and people are hurting. It's so expensive, primarily financially. People are really suffering and really struggling. Our oil and gas sector is decimated. Bills have just been put up. Everything's on hold. you can't move forward with industry, especially out here in the West. So you kind of have a bit of a spread with the two of us, right? You've got someone from Ontario, because you're from Ontario. Is that right, Shawn?
That's right. Southwestern.
Yes. Yeah. And so technically we call you East, although I guess you're really centrist, but I'm in Saskatchewan, and we would be kind of we're considered Western Canada. I'm in a prairie province. I'm in a completely blue or conservative province. We don't have one liberal seat at all in this province. We're very small in population. We're what you would call flyover country. We're basically North Dakota. Then you have Alberta. So we're kind of the oil and gas rancher farmer area of the country. And they have never really been left leaning. We've always been a little bit more conservative. So we have kind of different views on this. But just as a side note, I actually ran for the PPC in 2019, and I helped found the party. I sang at a lot of their events as well. I'm no longer affiliated with them, which is an entirely different story. But I can say that despite some very big criticisms I have of Maxim and the party structure, a lot of the candidates and just the main supporters indeed are more right-leaning. And that would kind of be, they were formed to essentially be iron sharpening iron. Maxim left the CPC, started his own party, and they have served, I think, to shift the Overton window a little bit and try to just bring that conversation a little further to the right. And it is unfortunate. Yeah, and unfortunately, they probably could normally maybe get a couple of seats. They haven't done amazing in by-elections. Like I said, I've got criticisms that are separate from this discussion. But yeah, you're just going to see people saying, no, we got to get Trudeau out. We have to get him out of here now, whatever it takes. So even people that are dissatisfied with some of the sort of squishy, weak positions, in my opinion, that Pierre has taken, he's so much better. It's just so much better than the alternative that people are desperate, quite frankly. I don't know how your thoughts are on that, Shawn.
Yeah, that's my wife, who is to sum her up, it's basically Gilmore Girls and pumpkin spice latte. That sums her up pretty significantly.
Interesting description.
And, well, I mean, it just is what it is. And what happens in Russia or China, Indonesia or America, has no idea. The fact that there's a fire in Los Angeles, oh, she was surprised when I told her. No idea. She's happily living her own little life. Well, suddenly, in the last little bit, it's almost like a light switch has come on. She's keenly aware of all of the things. It's been seeping into her gently, slowly. She's realizing that there's an awful lot of people that don't belong here. That's weird. Why is there so many drug users everywhere? That's crazy. There's the intravenous people just laying on the street. What a weird thing. That's not normal. And why is groceries so expensive? And it's just all kind of come upon her now. And now she's like, we got to get this guy out of here. All of this stuff, everything was fine. Everything was fine, more or less. But with Harper, everything is wrong now. This guy has to go. And so if my wife, who's really interested in whether Luke and Lorelai get married, even though we've seen the show 9,000 times.
It's a good show. Come on.
Right? If that can take her interest, then I mean it's happening to everyone across the nation.
Yeah, it truly is bringing people into the fold that didn't care before, because it's hurting them. Well, politics affects everyone, which I've always told my friends. I know you don't care about it, but it affects every aspect of your life. Now they're starting to feel that.
You might not care about it. It cares about you.
It cares about you, totally. And the crime, that's the other thing he mentioned is true. The drug policies and the sort of federal shifts to our justice policies, so sort of a revolving door justice policy. We have things like the Gladue report, which are a big deal, which has to do with our First Nations Aboriginal population and crime and being soft on them because they had a rough childhood. That's no good. We've got mass immigration, which is an issue. We've got safe injection sites and safe supply, and just a totally different destigmatization of drugs, which is a nightmare. Our medical system is an absolute disaster. So people can't get into a specialist. It's affecting people whether they like politics or not. And it's multifaceted. This is not just the economy. It's not just boring geopolitical discussions. It's everything. Everything has been hit.
From the sound of it, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm overstating this, the way you guys are describing this, it sounds like Canada is sitting on a peaceful political powder keg. In other words, maybe Canadians are polite enough not to say it in public, but behind closed doors are like, I can't wait to go vote. I can't wait. I'm fed up. I mean, it's the great moment from the movie Network. I want you to get up. I want you to go to your window, open it, and yell out, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. It's, right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love you Canadians. Y'all are some of the politest people in the world.
Well, we're not polite. We're passive aggressive. Don't get me started on COVID and all of that stuff and how horrible people were. We're not nice. Oh. We're smug. We're smug and anti-American, and it drives me crazy. But yes, we're super polite, and we don't like to make a fuss. We don't want to get too contentious or anything. But yes, even those people are getting mad.
And it's not polite anymore. It's bubbling up.
It's bubbling. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah. It's bubbling in the pot of politeness. It's bubbling, but the bubbles are so much that the top of the pot is kind of like the lid is kind of like, you're like, oh, I should maybe take that off. Yeah, we're gonna take it off the stove now, and that's gonna be getting Trudeau.
Nah, so yeah. Let me ask you a question. Let's assume for a moment that come March or April, as Space Dave says, yes, they will be forced. The government is forced to do something for the funding year of 2025 fiscal year, or there will be no man around the government. So let's assume that come March or April, that a vote of no confidence is going to happen in Parliament, because as Shawn rightly points out, Trudeau has screwed over the members of his own party. The Conservatives can't stand him. Jagmeet can't stand him. The Liberals can't stand him. And if somebody says, I move for a vote of no confidence, second, do we have unanimous consent? You just might get it this time. So let's just say this plays out, that there's a vote of no confidence. As I understand this, and you guys set me straight if I'm wrong, this is going to force an election in X certain number of days. If this goes down in late March or early April, that Canada is headed for an early election prior to October, when it would naturally happen on its own, when does that election take place?
It's like 60 days. 30 days. Okay. Like, I mean, it's rapid. Our elections are rapid. It's none of this bullshit where, where America is already fucking preparing for the midterms. Yeah. You just finished this one now, but you're already planning and doing shit for 2 years from now. No, we're like, okay, what with that? We're gonna have an election. All right, let's get this shit done. 30 days, go. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's not as grandiose of an affair, and the election rules are quite strict on sort of donations and corporate donations and stuff. So it's just not as, I always sort of say it's like Vegas versus just a small town. It's a very different feel when it comes to election times here.
Yeah, wow. And I'm willing to bet.
Yes, sir.
I'm willing to bet that the vote of no confidence comes in the day that the proroguing is over.
I mean, I'm not Canadian, and you guys know your government better than I do. But if you guys are sitting on that kind of a powder keg right now, politically in your country, yeah, the moment that Parliament comes back in, somebody's making this motion for the vote of no confidence. It's going to happen.
Because one of two things is going to happen. One, it's going to play out the way that Justin Trudeau said it was going to, if you want to believe him, that there's going to be a robust and whatever fucking leadership race, and then a liberal leader will emerge that everyone is happy with in that party, and that they can unify around that party. And then when Parliament resumes, that Justin will then say, I step down and blah blah, and officially do it, which is going to be really fucking funny. Just as an aside, all these twats right now being like, Justin stepped down, he's no longer prime minister, and then in 90 days now they're going to be saying this. They're going to be like, wait a minute, I thought he already did that. No, you're stupid. Anyways, so then he's going to do that, and that person who wins this leadership race, they immediately become prime minister. No Canadian will have voted for them.
That's right. That's right.
They will
it's
immediately
so undemocratic.
Yeah, they will immediately be the leader of the country, though not a single, person voted. And so, based on that alone, that will be no confidence, because who the fuck are you? Like, no one voted for you.
Yeah.
You don't get to lead this country. Now prove it to the people on the campaign trail. So that's route number one. Or number two, Justin Trudeau, who intends to step down, is going to use his 90 days or whatever, because it's mid-March sometime. It comes back in session, is going to use all of his charm and coiffed hair and fancy socks to smooth everything over. And that when Parliament comes back, he goes, actually, psych, I made you look. I talked to a few people. Everything's fine. We're going to carry on as normal. I mean, that's always a possibility. I hope that's not going to happen, though. Although,
okay, I'll just give you
nuked in that election, though.
I'll just give you my take. Okay, if he tries the latter option that you just described, and this is just an American's observation, okay, he's delaying the inevitable and would probably make the election result for his party even worse, because it's like the reporter back in 2020 who was in Minneapolis when the city is burning down behind him, and he looks into the microphone and says, "Yeah, well, there's mostly peaceful protests." And everybody can see Minneapolis is burning down behind the guy. It's like, the hell you mean mostly peaceful protests? The city's burning down. If Justin Trudeau tries to get up in Parliament and say, everything is just fine, I don't see what the problem is. And the Canadians are like, well, let's see. We got mass inflation. We got immigration run amok. We've got drugs everywhere. We've got, dealing with drugs taking a tack that no one ever thought about or even wants to see because it's making it worse. If he tries to pull that, and it goes to the October election, and again, you guys know your country better than I do, but from my perspective, if they're going to get blown out in April or June when this special election is held, it's going to get even worse come October, because you're just going to make Canadians even more angry, and they're going to have more time to stew on it, more time to simmer on it, and it's just going to be like, for the love of God, get out of my way. I will run you down if I have to, walk over broken glass to get to the polling place and vote these bleeps out.
But politics is just power and how to keep it.
Right.
And
Agreed.
Justin Trudeau's had 9 years of that. He's a lot of people, make the joke about Teflon Don, nothing sticks to Donald Trump. Well, that's not true. Justin Trudeau has been this new fancy star-frit fucking pan that nothing has been able to stick to.
Yeah. Ethics scandal after ethics scandal, nothing sticks. It's so true. I was surprised the last election he was voted in again.
We don't know, even rounding to the nearest 5, how many times he's been in blackface.
True. So true. But he's such a champion for racial rights or something like that. Such a hypocrite.
So I have 338 Canada here up on my screen, and it's the federal projections of what they think is going to happen. So it's 172 seats to basically win, right?
Right.
At 172, you get your majority, even though it's just by a hair. They're saying that the Green Party is likely going to, and Green Party is even farther left than the actual socialists. I think at that point you're just in straight up communism. One in BC, one in Ontario, probably Kitchener Waterloo, those cunts. Anyways, 2 seats for the Green Party. The Socialists, the New Democratic Party, looking at 25. That is less than what they have now. That's a loss. The Liberal Party of Canada, 35 seats, significantly less than what they have now. That is a massive drubbing, and they'll get most of their seats, 19, in Quebec. Again, these are just projections, but they're, normally on the East Coast and like Newfoundland, PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, that kind of stuff, it's all liberal. Yeah. They have the philosophy of ABC, anyone but conservatives.
Right.
It's all conservative out there. Yeah. Then the Bloc, which is the gayest thing we have as a nation, the Bloc de Québécois. It's a provincial party that's in the federal government, and they can only be voted for in Quebec, and they only represent Quebec, but they're federal. Just sign the goddamn Constitution already. Jesus. They haven't done that yet. Anyway, so they're looking at 45 seats, which I think might be a boost. And then the Canadian Conservatives are looking at 236, which is like a supermajority we haven't seen, and I don't know if we've ever seen it.
I mean, look, I don't follow your country's politics that well, but even, I mean, I've never heard of one party having that kind of dominance in Canada.
Like, there might have been like a Stephen Harper in the beginning, that kind of may I don't even know, but that is such dominance. But here, I guess the rub a little bit is that our senators are appointed.
They are,
and they basically we give out senatorships the way that Joe Biden gives out medals of freedom.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's all appointed. There's no democracy in that either. So even if Pierre wins with this supermajority, we still have a very liberal judiciary. We still have we have liberal senators. And so he mentioned on his Jordan Peterson interview that he would need people to be politically active, because it's not just a one and done, although there's not much we can do as citizens because they're already appointed. The whole system is really interesting in Canada, because one could argue that it's not really remotely fair or democratic actually at all. We don't have this beautiful republic. We don't have an electoral college. We don't have any of that. It's completely different here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hang on to that thought. Let me do one quick commercial, because I want to dive back into this, because I'm not going to lie. To me, this is just absolutely fascinating. And I'm looking at both sides of chat, on the Rumble side and on the YouTube side.
We haven't even got to the Trump stuff yet and how it plays.
I know. I was just going to say.
Yeah. That's another thing. But let me do a real quick commercial for all of us. If you are joining in with us late tonight, at now almost 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, I am joined by Shawn from Third Railify. He's got a channel on Rumble primarily, but also on YouTube. I'm also joined by former Rebel News reporter Kelly Lamb out of Saskatchewan, who has her own YouTube channel. Please subscribe to both of them. These two are wonderful people. And, Kelly's kind of like, easing back into the content creation waters. If Shawn and I have our way about it, we're going to grab her by both arms and pull her in completely.
I don't know if my husband would want that.
Well, not literally, for heaven's sake. I mean, come on now. Anyway, and we've got My Morning Mayhem. My Morning Mayhem is over there on the Rumble chat. Carly is over on the Rumble chat. We got Shorty's over there. Got a WWG1 hanging out with us. Gypsy. Gregory Chu, who's making some very interesting comments. You have a fan here, Shawn, because he says this guy is on fire. Well, I totally agree with that. So
hello, Gregory. We can be best friends at Third Railify. Go there, all the places. Do it now. Hurry.
Yes, sub to these people, daggone it. They're out there working hard to make content for you. All right, let's get into the Trump thing, because I have to thank one of my regulars, Gypsy. She sent me a picture from the Jimmy Carter funeral at the National Cathedral in D.C. today, and you could make an argument that this picture very much sums up a lot, in part, not all, but in part, a lot of Justin Trudeau's headaches these days. You'll notice that Prime Minister Trudeau is giving President-elect Trump quite the view, like, oh, Daddy walked in. Oh, Daddy's here. Okay, explain something to me. Now, because I can remember when Trump came in 2017, and every world leader at one point or another makes a trip to the White House. I get it. And given the territorial relationship between the United States and Canada, and decades and now centuries of relationship between our two countries, you kind of figure, these guys are going to talk. All right. Canada has a very robust automobile industry, had a robust oil and gas industry. But these two guys have never been able to get along. Okay. And I'm not just talking about ideologically, because I mean, Trump is what I call more of a populist conservative. Trudeau is quite the lefty on so many issues. But even beyond the ideology, these two guys have never gotten along. Let me ask both of you a question. And Kelly, I'll throw this to you first. I mean, Trudeau's problems have been building for quite some time. He sounds like somebody, and again, stop me where I'm wrong. He sounds like a gentleman who came to the prime ministership. You know, Harper had a pretty good run from what I remember of him. I mean, nothing major happened, no scandals, no. Trudeau more or less gets handed a good situation, and like a horrible manager, has utterly screwed it up. But even beyond, I mean, Trudeau's problem's been building for a while. But for some reason, the re-election of Trump in 2020 just seemed to accelerate the decay of Trudeau's political orbit. Am I saying that correctly, or is there something else going on here between these two men?
Well,
it could have, and anyone could have been elected in this American election, and it would have. I mean, there was no Trump's not a catalyst. I mean, we have so many scandals currently going. There's a foreign interference scandal that's waiting to pop off. We're waiting on this deficits. We're waiting for Jagmeet to get his fucking pension. Like there's so many things that are just happening, waiting to happen. And so I mean, it was going to happen regardless. I mean, Trump's trolling. Okay. I mean, Trump's trolling brought America's eyes. That's all it did.
I agree with that. Yeah, it made it more public. I would agree, though, that I think we would have been in this boat regardless. But what's interesting about the Trump stuff is it's just a personality thing. At the end of the day, he's a trolling master. He's extremely blunt. He's very alpha male. And I mean, they're not going to get along, because if you just take them out of politics and stick them in a room at a party together, they're not going to get along. I don't think he respects Trudeau. And I think at the end of the day, all of the policies aside, I think he could work with anybody as long as he can shake their hand, get a firm handshake, and not think I'm talking to a girl right now, basically a little teenage girl. Trudeau is very weak. He's a weak man. And he gives off weak vibes, or whatever word you want to use. I don't like to use that term, but there's no way that Trump respects him on any level. And he's easy to troll. He's easy to work up. And so I think that all of our problems would still be there. But yes, Trump has really accentuated the difference in what it's like to have a strong male leader. And he's also shown the difference just in Trudeau is all word salads, right? He's all compassion and love and peace and feminism and all these things.
It's like the male version of Kamala.
Basically, yes. And they're both insufferable in similar ways. But he is just words, fancy word salads, but nothing happens except for destruction.
Signaling. He's a virtue signaling douchebag.
Yes, whereas Trump is the exact opposite. And so it's really highlighted, I think, Trudeau's weakness. And then now it's brought it to the world stage. And because we have Trudeau in power, I think that's where Trump's epic trolling, which is what we're getting into now, is this whole, hey, what do you think? Should we annex Canada? Hey, what do you think? Should they be the 51st state? I think it's probably wouldn't happen if we had a stronger leader, or it might, but it wouldn't go as far as it has. Instead, it has become a national conversation. It sparked a national debate. Some people say it's unifying. It depends on what part of Twitter you're on, I guess. But there's a lot of discussion right now on, well, what is Canada other than not American? Because frankly, there's a lot of hating on Americans is like a national sport here, which drives me crazy. My husband's family is like third from the Mayflower pioneers in that country. One of his lineage, great whatever grandfather was a surgeon in one of your civil wars. It's like it's a big deal. It's in our lineage. My grandmother's from North Dakota. So I don't like hearing the American bashing, but people love to do it here. And I do feel sometimes like, well, what is our national identity? And when you have a prime minister who claims we are the first post-national state, what do you think is going to happen? You're just decimating our entire institutions. You're decimating patriotism. You're decimating any sense of identity. Well, of course, someone like Trump's going to come in and say, well, maybe we'll just take you then. And it's fascinating to watch it happen.
Yeah, I got to admit, I mean, again, you guys pay closer attention to your country than I do because it's your country. But, and like you said, Trump is a master at trolling people. He can whine. My dad was great at winding people up. I mean, I could sit here and tell you stories about stuff that he did, and I don't even know the half of it. I just know 2 or 3 really good ones. But Trump can he knows the button to push on somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And when he finds it and he really wants to get to you, he's going to go ding, ding, ding. He's going to hit that thing over and over and over again. And when it comes to Trudeau, he knows how to get to the guy. He really does. But out of that, and I think you're right. There's a conversation. I mean, I'm watching it from down here, looking to the great north. There's a conversation going on in your country. It's like, well, what the heck are we anyway? Well, I don't know what we are, but we're not really good off right now. And we're
not okay. Yeah, we're not a sovereign state. We don't have a constitution. We don't have free speech enshrined as a right. All of our rights that we thought we had during COVID, we realized meant nothing because our Bill of Rights at the, flip of a pen can just be annihilated.
Blows their mind. Every time I tell them, oh yeah, we got an asterisk that says, well, no, it's notwithstanding we are the government and we will suspend your rights. Yes, they were God-given, a lot of them God-given, but because we are the government, we will suspend them, not exceeding 5 years because, an election will be called by then. And if you really don't like it, you'll just vote us out because you can vote out tyranny, don't you know?
Yeah. WWG1 over on Rumble says, meme them until they cry and then make the memes of them crying. WWG1, I don't disagree with that strategy whatsoever, my friend. Now, I mean, we've talked about the issues that are like driving people's dissatisfaction in Canada. Crime, immigration run amok. I mean, it sounds like even worse than a problem when we got down here. So you got crime, immigration, drugs, how to handle drugs, an economy that's absolutely going in the tank, inflation that's making life completely unaffordable. It sounds like everybody, regardless of their ideology or their level of political passion, has reached the point. It's like, give me an election and I'm voting for anybody.
Can I give you a few more? Can I give
you go ahead.
A few more, right? Okay, so there's a lot of things that have happened, and it sits with some of us. Some of us don't even know. Some of us are still hang on to it because we're mad about it, but it's sort of, it's there, it's floating, it's in the ether there. Okay, so the Stephen Harper conservative government, they were like, oh, we need new fighter jets. We need something that's not going to fall out of the sky. Our CF-18s, not brilliant. Okay, so the Stephen Harper government, they signed the contract for 65 F-35 fighter jets.
Okay,
nice, hooray for us. For $9 billion. That's billion with a B. Billion. $9 billion. 65 F-35 fighter jets. Well, okay. So the country was going really, really well. So well, it was kind of boring. And when things go well and it's kind of boring, the liberals get twitchy and they're like, let's get something new and exciting. And it's like, well, that's why your marriage isn't working, because you need something new and exciting. Just be fine with normal. And so they went for the coif and the fucking fancy socks. And they're like, oh my God, him and his wife. Fucking put him on GQ magazine. Anyway, so what happens is, Justin Trudeau, then he goes and he's like, you know what? Let's scrap this F-35 contract. We don't need these. Anyway, so a couple years goes by, and our jets literally falling out of the sky. Yeah, sure, some of them were piloted by women, but I'm sure that wasn't all of the problem.
No offense, I'm not kidding, a DEI fan.
I am kidding, Kelly. That's my thing. I kid around a little bit. Anyway, so these jets fall out of a whole bunch of them across the country, falling out of the sky to the point where they're like, we don't know, we should go to air shows in these things. And so Trudeau's like, you know what? Maybe we'll buy some jets. They look around, they put out, see who's got the best bids, and then they decide on the F-35 fighter jet because why not, I guess. And so they managed to purchase 16 F-35s for a cool $7 billion. Why buy 65 for 9 when you can get 16 for 7? And I don't even think we have them. We're still flying the CF-18s, and I think we bought some like Super Hornets or some shit from Australia or whatever. So there's things like that. It's mismanagement. What's happening to California, how it's mismanaged every step of the way, is happening to Canada. It's mismanaged every step of the way. Here's another example, if I may. In 2020, there was a mass shooting in Nova Scotia. Not that mass, but it was pretty bad. It was not brilliant, not one of our finest moments. And so the Liberals used that shooting in Nova Scotia as an excuse to further take everyone's guns away, sweeping gun reforms. Because, you know, if we take all the legal guns away, we can never have this again. It didn't matter that the guns that were used were illegally obtained, and the guy should never have had them in the first place. And the federal government pressured the RCMP to not release that information and lie, and basically bent the reports to let everybody know that we have to take your guns away for your safety. They used a mass shooting, and America wants to do this with every mass shooting they have, but to justify it and bend and keep information and all of that stuff. So it's like little things like that.
Yeah.
And the pipelines that get canceled and the pipelines that do go through, it's a fucking massive boondoggle. But I mean, at least they got done. But all the
have
money
that gender pay gap analysis or something before you can put anything through. Lots of micromanagement, environmental regulations to the nth degree. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, exactly. It's sure they'll let them through, maybe, but there's so much red tape you'll never get there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, from the audience and my friend Christian Watson, I just thought you guys might like to see that Shawn and Kelly are excellent, smart, informative, knowledgeable. They're teaching us stuff, and it's absolutely great. And trust me, when you get this kind of a compliment from Christian Watson, he does not give praise. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's ungenerous with his praise, but when he gives you praise for stuff like this, you guys are scoring a home run. And he does have a question for the two of you, which I think you've sort of alluded to already. Ask Shawn and Kelly what they think about the discussion surrounding America annexing Canada.
We're getting there.
Jump in on that one. Go ahead.
Yeah,
we're getting there. So, the Cold War is over, and with that, it's the global hegemony is no longer America. BRICS is a thing. It's now a multipolar world. It's no longer a unipolar world. America isn't the big dog anymore, and we're actually going to a time. And I promise this all ties in. It really does. It's crazy how things like that all come together. So we're actually going back to a time before the Cold War, back to when imperialism was kind of the thing. We're almost like moving away from like a one world government. And that whole conspiracy of, I guess it wasn't really conspiracy. They literally tried to do it, where all the countries we're all under one government. We're moving away from that because, believe it or not, half the world didn't want to be under America. And so now it's a multipolar world, right? So China, it is the biggest, baddest dog in the dog park. And Russia, I mean, lots of people like to laugh at Russia because they're vodka and they squat funny, but no, they're actually really, really serious. I mean, they have drone supremacy over America, and they're winning their war handedly. Indonesia is a massive. They're coming to be one of the larger economies in the world. Indonesia, for God's sake. India is moving up to like the fourth largest economy. So I mean, there's all of these other countries that aren't entirely interested in being under America's boot, they're now getting their spheres of influence. And if you're little America, because again, you're not the biggest dog in the dog park anymore. If you're little America, you're kind of feeling quite vulnerable now, right? You don't have the Panama Canal. You once did, and that's strategic and important, and you need it. The Arctic is melting. Russia and China are right there. I mean, they're going to be sending ships. That's going to be super valuable. You kind of need your own sphere of influence because everyone else is getting their own sphere of influence. England and Germany, France, the EU in general. Oh my God, they're in so much debt that the Schengen zone is absolutely going to break apart because they can't keep that shit together. No one has money. There's too many illegals and browns and rape gangs and all kinds of stuff ruining everything. And so all of these countries that should be big and powerful, like Germany, that's the economic engine. Germany can't even keep Volkswagen in Germany. So America is kind of like, well, we can't do it all. So then you get Donald Trump being like, hey, you know what? 51st state, huh? That's ridiculous because we would at least be 13 states. You're not going to have a state, one state that's bigger than your entire country. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
I mean, Jesus,
and we're very diverse across Canada, so we're not at all the same.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's already separatist sentiment here.
Yeah, you're gonna have 13 states, anyways. But the point is, so you got Mexico to your south. You want that in your sphere of influence. Then you got Canada. You're definitely gonna want that because Canada has so much oil. We can't refine any of it, but we can certainly get it out of the sand. And then Greenland is kind of interesting because no one really saw Greenland coming, but it actually just happens to be in kind of the spot in the Arctic where you could put a lot of important shit for when Russia and China go there. So even though Donald Trump's been doing a lot of trolling and we all thought it was trolling, it was funny.
Right.
And we laughed and we're like, ha ha ha, 51st state and all of that stuff. But then the jokes went on and they went on and they went on. And they kind of got long in the tooth, and we're like, okay, this kind of stops being funny. It's like when my kid makes fart jokes. I'm like, ha ha ha, Elliot, that's great. But on the 10,000th fart joke in that hour, I'm like, bro, come on, do a knock knock joke or something. And we're at that point, and it turns out that Donald Trump is he's reading the tea leaves, and I believe he sees that imperialism is back on the menu, and that is what this new world is going to be because BRICS is getting bigger. BRICS actually took in, was it Indonesia?
Yeah, I believe it was.
As a full-blown partner. There's lots of little partners, like little partner states, but not, it was a full-blown member, not just a partner state where people are like, oh, we would like to attend your meetings and observe and maybe one day we'll dream big dreams and be, they're like an actual member. Like BRICS is growing. They're going to have currency. They're going to have their own Swift banking. And it's imperialism is back. And Donald Trump wants to expand the American empire because that's the only way that these countries are going to survive.
Yeah, I will agree with that. And I'm going to throw some comments up here from chat. This is on the YouTube side, and I can kind of understand where Gypsy's coming from on this. On the Rumble side, WWG1 says, I don't agree. America is part of BRICS, all part of the plan. That's why Trump said Canada will be the 51st state, not under the cabal, but a new system. A new world is coming. We are getting the canal, Canada, Greenland, etc., and not through war or colonialism, but through cooperation. I will be proven right. It is a precursor or foreshadowing. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree
with that.
America
is a part of BRICS, really? Because I'm pretty sure we're diametrically opposed.
We will see how all this plays out. Now, let me talk about something for the future for Canada. The leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, Pierre Poilievre. Okay, I'm West Virginia. I don't.
That's not bad.
Pretty good.
Look, okay. Or as I lovingly call him, Polly wannabe prime minister. Polly want to be prime minister as the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada. And all right, you have a liberal judiciary and an appointed Senate. And even if the Conservatives come to power in do you call it the House of Commons or you just call it Parliament?
The House of Commons.
The House of Commons.
House of Commons. Okay, House of Commons. Even if the Conservatives come to power with a supermajority in the House of Commons, let me, Kelly, I'll start this question with you first. What could they actually get done, and what do they want to do? In other words, I mean, let me give you an example. 1990, and you guys are a little young for this, but I remember specifically because I was around at that time. 1994, the Republican Party in America had been out of power in the House of Representatives for 40 years. Newt Gingrich and a group of his fellow congressmen came up with something called the Contract with America, a 10-point set of promises that if you give us the majority, we will do this. We will take a vote on the following 10 items. If I came up to Canada and talked to somebody on the street and said, "Tell me, what is Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives? What do they want to do for Canada if they get a majority?" And your answer would be what?
Well, okay, I'm going to answer this quick, and then I'm going to cut my mic and video, but I'll still be here. I just have to change locations. I'll stick around, but I just have to change locations. Probably not as good a lighting.
You do what you got to do.
So to answer the question, what does he generally want to do? The first would be to axe the carbon tax. We have a carbon tax here that is going up every single year. Now that is, I mean, it's one of many, many problems, but it costs a lot. And it's not just on heating and vehicles, it's on everything, because as you can imagine, if you are taxing gasoline, for example, the businesses have to spend more to ship. And I've tried to explain this to people. I have a lot of sort of granola hippie friends. It's like every organic bottle of vitamins you buy just went up. Doesn't matter how green you try to be, stuff has to get shipped. Places have to be heated. I live in Saskatchewan. We were at minus 35 degrees Celsius last week. It's cold, right? So the carbon tax is hitting people hard. So he wants to axe that, which is something. He wants to get oil and gas rolling again. There's a lot of agricultural farmer sort of elements to it. He wants to get that market back up and running, but a lot of that is just carbon tax and cutting regulation. He wants to build more homes. He's briefly touched on immigration only recently, probably because of public pressure. I would hope that he will take that seriously. He's very cautious in his wording because he has to be careful with his voter base in Ontario and Quebec. But he does talk about, some level of reduction of immigration, common sense in general. He spoke a little bit on the gender chaos, but in my opinion, not enough. Mostly economical reform, slashing a lot of the red tape to municipalities and regions to grow our real estate market so that we can build more homes, because the red tape and regulation is outrageous, and kind of just building from there. So that's kind of what he claims. That's what his platform is. That's what he speaks about. I mean, it remains to be said. I trust no politician at this point. I'm a little black pill.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, at this point, I'll hit my mic off, but I'm still here listening, and I'll pop back on when I'm in a different location.
Okay, fair enough. And we'll wait for Miss Kelly to come back. And in the meanwhile, Shawn and I will do our thing. Okay, so Shawn, let me ask you this. All right. Not necessarily socially conservative, but then again, it doesn't sound like that's what's driving a lot of problems in Canada. Maybe. Could, if Pierre Poilievre comes to power as the Prime Minister of Canada, how much cooperation could we see between a Donald Trump and a Pierre Poilievre?
They're gonna be fast friends.
Okay,
they're gonna be fast friends. So I mean, some of the other things is Poilievre. He advocates tough on crime.
Okay.
Right. So like his motto is jail, not bail.
All right.
I mean, that's all right. We have a lot of drug users and criminals that need to go away. He has expressed a commitment to limiting the government's role in citizens' lives, promoting free speech and things like that, and is opposing regulations he sees akin to censorship. So I mean, that's where Trudeau is very for the censorship, right? Trudeau has if he didn't prorogue Parliament and he kept it going, he would have put his censorship bill through, and I wouldn't really, I would, it would be touch and go whether or not I could still be on YouTube.
Wow.
Like it was going to be that bad. Like genuinely, like there's a reason why Jordan Peterson left to go to Tennessee, because it was getting genuinely bad. So Kelly did hit on housing. We have a massive housing problem. There is just so much red tape, but not just red tape. It's if you build a, I don't know, a house where your labor and your materials and all that comes to, let's say $500,000. It's a nice big house. You're spending a further $600,000 just on permits and bureaucracy.
Jeez.
Right? It's insane. So he wants to get that, because again, Justin brought in all of the people, but he didn't make anywhere to put them. And we might be the second largest nation on this earth, but we're very, very tiny. We don't have a lot of livable space. It's not easy to build on the Canadian Shield. It's super hard bedrock. You need to like a ton of Chinese folks and dynamite. You know how they, the old
yeah, I know.
Yeah. So basically, it's that. That's why we don't live there. And also the bears and the mosquitoes, the size of black flies, the size of geese. Like, I mean, it's not, a lot of Canada is very pretty. Maybe you can go camping there, but you don't live there. It's awful.
Wow.
So he also wants to axe a bunch of taxes and claw back a bunch of shit that's just preventing businesses to form and or grow. God, the carbon tax, everything fucking went up overnight. It's like on this day the carbon tax starts, and then the next day people are like, "Oh my god, my avocados are now $3 more." No shit. He proposes a pay-as-you-go law to cap federal spending at budgeted amounts, right? So he's like, okay, we're going to spend $1 billion doing this, but that means we must save $1 billion from somewhere else.
Okay.
So he wants to put it in law that the equation is always balanced. You don't get to be a Justin Trudeau and go, oh, well, listen, we're going to just run a budget of a deficit of 10 billion for 3 years. Oops, I'm so sorry. It turned out to be 60 billion deficit. It'll balance itself out. It's fine.
Well, he spends so much money on random stuff too. Like Trudeau's been known to just I can't remember what talk show host was it, that Trevor Noah guy in the States was, hey, by the way, I like the way you talk. I'll give a bunch of money to some random cause in Africa, or here's abortions in a different part of the world. Like, we just blow money like we have it, and we don't. It doesn't come, our deficit doesn't even benefit the people here. It's just, I don't know what we're blowing money on at this point.
Gender studies in Pakistan, like we pay for that shit too.
Right. Yeah.
Like teaching feminism to the fucking Taliban. Like, I mean, we spend our money on dumb shit.
It's wild. Yeah.
Jeez. Now I've got a video here, compliments of one of my regulars, Gypsy, and there's certain worries as it relates to Pierre Poilievre, and I've got a video here, and you guys can react to it if you wish. Some people are worried: does he want to deport? Does he not want to deport? Well, here's a clip of a speech, and I'm just going to play this real quick and get you guys' take on it. And again, audience, please let me know if the sound is coming through okay.
Canada. The solution is obvious.
Whoop, wait a minute. Hang on.
You're going to say, we need more workers.
End the deportations. Allow everyone who applied honestly but who was defrauded to continue to keep their work or study permit, and allow them to apply just like everyone else to become permanent residents. That's what I'm calling for. Stop the deportations.
Look at that audience.
Listen, we have a worker shortage in Canada. We have a demographic problem. Our population is too old. We need 700 young people. We need 700 young people to work in our factories, in our hospitals, in our shopping centers, driving truck, being accountants, lawyers, doctors. We need these workers in our country. It makes no sense for Canada to send them back when they could stay here and earn powerful paychecks and raise their families in peace. So shame on Justin Trudeau for trying to deport these wonderful students. Stop the deportations. Keep the students here. Allow them to apply just like everyone else for permanent residency. The Conservatives will continue to fight for the students.
Okay, let me get your guys' take on this.
How many elections ago was that?
I can't remember. I was just going to say, I don't remember when that's from. It's not super recent, but I know that I've seen
that's an old clip.
You know, one of the ways shifted his views on that. So supposedly.
One of the ways that you know it's an old clip, because holy shit, does he not look like a fucking dork right there?
He has shifted he's completely changed his look.
He's got a whole fucking makeover. Like, I mean, he's a slick fucking dude right now with he's got his nice tight shirt. He's been lifted.
That's right. He's been lifted.
Glasses
off.
Like, yes.
Oh, it's kind of like David Muir of ABC News going out to Los Angeles wearing a firefighter's coat, and the clothespins are holding it together in the back so he looks more svelte.
Well, I mean,
I am not making that up.
Well, yes, you're not making that up, but no, Poilievre's not like that. But somebody went to him and were like, "Hey, yo, you look like a dork. You go into a factory, Canadians are going to go, oh my God, we no, fuck off." And so then he I don't know, started dressing up like he was going on a date, and
he took his glasses, but he looks completely different. It's like a makeover, one of those teeny bot makeover movies. They need to put some music behind it and the before and after.
Probably thrilled. But
that's an older clip. I don't know, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, my thoughts. This is where people are concerned because people are worried he's pandering, right? And there's been events where he's not as bad as Trudeau, who just loves to dress up, and he goes to India and he's wearing the completely inappropriate garb and they all make fun of him, and he's just he's so embarrassing. But to be fair, Pierre has been a little bit of a panderer, and it's largely due to the way our electoral system works. Where the most votes are, there are a lot of immigrants, and so he is looking for votes. Now, that said, he has dialed that back in the sense of the immigration rhetoric he was talking about there. He has called for stopping, halting and shifting our view on immigration so that we need to slow it down, basically. And there are people that need to be deported. We have the temporary foreign worker program. That's what he was talking about. There's the student element of it. There's right now, there's also a lot of grants. So people can hire, they're more incentivized to hire immigrants or new Canadians, as they call them, as opposed to people that have been here longer. So I mean, I guess it remains to be seen. I would hope that he would go with the common sense that he espouses. I don't know what to believe, but I can't go vote for a fringe party that's super staunch on it just because I'm worried about it, because it's like I said, I don't trust any politicians at this point. There is no actual viable alternative, in my humble opinion. The PPC is great in many ways, but it's not really a viable. It's not going to win. It's not going to do anything. So it's kind of a moot point at this point. It's more of a movement.
Like
not this election.
Opinion.
Yeah, pardon?
It's like a cow's opinion. It's moo.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, I mean, I hope that he's legit, but
it's from Friends.
He's here all week, folks. Try the veal and don't forget to tip your waitresses.
Joey Tribbiani.
Is it a Joey? I missed that. Yeah. I missed the reference, I guess.
Yeah, Joey Tribbiani. It's a moo point. It's like a cow's opinion. Moo. So Small Time Republics, it sounds like he did the Bezos makeover, and that's actually correct. That's pretty much what he did. It was Bezos makeover, right? The jacket, the shirt. It's fucking, he got his hair back, and he looks significantly better. But one thing I've been saying to him on X is, hey, what are you gonna do about guns? Because I don't know.
Totally.
I would like to have one. And I don't know. He says maybe I'll undo some of the bullshit that Trudeau was done. Nowhere near a Second Amendment, but maybe I don't know. He'll undo some of the bullshit. The fact that our firearms are being confiscated and being sent to Ukraine, like what the fuck is that about? So So yeah, he says that. So we don't really know what to expect, but we know that the country won't get worse.
That's true. Yeah,
that's
a friend
what
of
we
mine
know.
put it. A friend of mine said it's like there's an iceberg coming and you just have to dodge the iceberg and then we can try to get turned around and back on track. But sometimes you just got to shift the rudder a little bit so you don't smash into that iceberg. We're not going to turn all the way around. He's not as conservative as I'd like him to be. He's not a staunch social conservative on some of the stuff that I'm worried about, like the gender madness and transing kids and all of that stuff. But he is so much better, and it will, if nothing else, slow it down. And then it's up to the citizens to actually get involved and start to put pressure on their MPs. Because one thing we've forgotten about, I find in our elections, I don't know what your thoughts are, Shawn, we're supposed to be built on a democracy of 338 ridings, as we mentioned earlier in the show, that are meant to represent the very specific demographic and area that they come from. So they should have a vested interest in their community, they should be respected in their area, and they should be able to take the concerns of that region, because we're such a vast country, demographically, climate-wise, all of it. They need to take the concerns of their region to the House of Commons and fight it out and represent them. And we've gotten away from that. And I feel like that's where the citizens need to get their act together and stop being so apathetic. And if I could just put a call out to my fellow Canadians, it's like, stop watching sports and pay attention for 5 seconds to what is happening in our House of Commons, because you do need the people to put pressure on those individual MPs so that we can get further, because we cannot put this all on one perfect leader. He's not God, he's just a politician. And there's only so much they can do, right?
I believe those ridings, I believe they're called Davos, Switzerland.
Well, let me ask you guys a question, and with this we'll bring the train into the station. So let's say the scenario plays out that both of you are describing. We go to a special election in Canada, probably we're talking June, early July at the latest. The Conservatives come to power. Pierre Poilievre becomes prime minister. Kelly, you're taking the view that, okay, we're not going to hit the iceberg. Maybe we can start turning this around. Shawn, you're taking the position, okay, at least it won't get any worse. Are either of you optimistic that, okay, if we give him a few years and we give the Conservative Party a few years, we could actually, I mean, it's not going to be wine and roses overnight. Because, I mean, like America, I mean, look, I am not going to ever try to sell anybody, hey, these are our ideals. This is where we're at. We got a long way to go to get back to our ideals here in America. So I'm not going to ever sell anybody and say, oh, everything is wine and roses down here now that Donald Trump's in. I almost feel sorry for Trump, because the job he's got to do this time is harder than the job he had in 2017, because Biden managed to screw up so much. But getting back to Canada, is there optimism from either one of you that if Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are able to govern for a number of years, that not only can you stop the slide, you can turn this thing around? And Kelly, I'll let you start, and then Shawn, if you want to come in on it.
I wish I had a clear answer. I struggle with this one because on the one hand, I understand the argument of, ultimately it comes down to the sustainability agenda, UN 2030. Have the Conservatives been truly staunch enough against that stuff? I think Pierre's taken a decent stand against the WEF. He's sworn that he won't have any members that are involved in that. I struggle to figure out, is he just another puppet, as many say, or is he sort of the real deal? And when we see him going kind of squishy or soft, I think it's more just to pander for votes, because that's what politicians do. It's a game. Sure. You got to know how to play it. And his politicking game is strong, right? His marketing team is strong. He's doing what he needs to do. He's saying what he needs to say. So I go back and forth on this one, but I would like to think that at least it gives us a fighting chance. It gives us a fighting chance to dig ourselves out of the mess that we've made. We're seeing other Western nations slowly waking up to this stuff. We see what happened in the States. I'm hopeful that people will start to wake up to what damage these very liberal left-leaning policies can do. Now, I'm someone who used to be left-leaning or liberal, And I actually haven't changed that much. My only shift is really that I don't trust the government anymore, and I don't believe their lies. So I'm all about compassion and doing the right thing, but I am far more discerning, and I'm much more for voluntary charity than socialism, for example, and allowing the free market to do its thing and that kind of stuff. So I'd like to see that people could recognize that these people that claimed, these Gavin Newsoms, these Kamala Harrises, these Justin Trudeaus, that they would realize that they are snakes, that they are wolves in sheep's clothing, and they haven't got us to anywhere but disaster and suffering. The very people they claim to care about are suffering immensely. So I'm hopeful that there will be a shift, but I believe the shift has to take place at a societal level. You have to have hearts and minds being shifted, and then hopefully the politics will follow. So I'm hopeful that Pierre can kind of, as Shawn said, put a stop to it, give us some decent footing that we can sort of say, okay, look at the damage, what's been done. As you said, he collected a mess, big mess. So he's got a lot of work to do. And I'm hoping that we as a society can wake up, because if we don't wake up, the pressure is still going to be put on him from the media and from activist groups and lobbyist groups to go more and more left. And that's concerning to me. And also, will he be able to stand up to the powerful sort of more globalist lobbies? But as Shawn said, stuff is shifting, right? We're not seeing it go down the way that the globalists maybe had planned. So I'm hopeful, but I'm cautiously optimistic. And I don't really know how else to put it, except that after COVID too, seeing how even conservatives in our country acted made me very cautious in being positive about our future, because I do see a lot of very squishy conservatives out there, and it's a little bit concerning.
Shawn?
COVID was a special time in Canada.
Nightmare.
Yeah. I wouldn't be here now yelling like a moron, like a lunatic on the internet if it wasn't for how Canadians were treated. But yeah, it's when Poilievre gets in, and he will. Sadly, he won't be the next prime minister. I mean, I feel bad for the next prime minister, because they're going to be prime minister for like 7 minutes. Good Lord, that's awful. Imagine those placemats that kids are going to sit at, and their parents are teaching them the prime ministers of Canada. And then you get all of these prime ministers with like 4, 5, 8 years in between the times. And then you got this one prime minister, probably some, who knows who's going to be. It's like 7 minutes. What a terrible thing. That's not a legacy that you want. But anyways, that's besides the point. So when Poilievre gets in, the carbon tax is going to go. That immediately improves everything overnight.
Yeah.
Right. So as Poilievre said to Jordan Peterson, they had a nice long interview. So I mean, if there is anyone in either chat that actually gives a shit about any of this stuff, Jordan Peterson did interview Pierre Poilievre, and it was a great conversation. Okay. And one of the things that Poilievre said is Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, they got the party. The Conservatives, they're going to get the hangover. They're going to get into office, and they're going to realize, oh, everything that we want to do, that's going to be hard to do because we have no money. Our money is the money that we do have is worthless. There's nothing. Pretty much, and the drapes are on fire, and it's terrible. So yeah, it's who knows if they're going to have to cut. They have to fix the laws, handle the crime, handle the inflation, fix the military. They're going to have to negotiate fucking a trade war with America. I mean, there's so much that has to be done that I'm going to give you a handful of years even before I make a judgment on it. Sure, if you mess up, maybe I'll call you a shithead or something, but he's going to be dealing with a lot of stuff. And I mean, the carbon tax alone fixes.
That's true.
So much. Just that alone. And he can do that on day one with a swipe of a pen. Yeah. So, I mean, It won't get worse, right? He's not going to bring in Bill C-63, the Online Harm Acts, which
also true.
I mean, this bill basically takes me off the air. Maybe Kelly, although she's lovely, so she probably can say things without being. I mean, C-63 takes Rebel off the air.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so that's not going to go in. That's not something the Conservatives are going to do. You know, maybe, just maybe, we can get these fighter jets. Maybe we can get boats that don't sink. Maybe we can have more than 3 days of ammunition because Trudeau gave it all to Ukraine, that we only have 3 days. You want to conquer Canada, America? Come with 4 days of ammunition. Like,
our military is in a sad state, right? I think that's the other thing. Like, you're talking about the specifically, indeed, the carbon tax. Just these shifts in policies will make a vast difference automatically. But I will say, even just on the sort of morale front, when, as much as I'm very, cautious about politicians right now, and that's a longer story, I admit that I haven't had a lot of patriotism for a long time. I'm a very proud Saskabusher, as we call ourselves in Saskatchewan.
It's like looking into a mirror, except it makes me look pretty.
Oh, where was I going with this?
You don't have a lot of patriotism. I'm like,
patriotism. Yeah, it had kind of died. I don't wave my flag with a lot of chutzpah anymore. But when I heard Pierre speak, there's two things that really got me. A couple of weeks ago, he did a bit of a speech in Parliament that kind of went viral, and it was just talking about people and how much they're suffering, much in the financial ways, but in other ways too. Sure. But his interview with Pierre, I had tears in my eyes. Now, I'm a girl, I'm a softie, so maybe that's not a big deal. But I actually felt a twinge of patriotism return for the first time in years since I ran for office in 2019, with the goal to just try to represent my riding and give an option to Canadians that were upset with the CPC. Because the leader they had before this was not quite as charismatic as we have now.
What a fag.
Yeah, and Scheer, even, I mean, he has his maybe his gifts, but he wasn't a very inspiring leader.
No,
so I haven't felt this in a while, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, and I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, and it's nice to just feel a little bit of love from my country again, because it kind of died. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a rough few years, and COVID, like you said, Shawn, my husband's career was decimated for 3 years. We were treated like absolute garbage, plague rats. There was mainstream newspapers telling us that we should die and not get health care. Every politician, even our conservative premier.
Star, I'll never forget it.
Brutal, right? Yeah, I'll never forget it either. It was absolutely asinine. We were as close to concentration camps as you can get. We were, I think, second only to Australia in how insane our policies were. And then watching the people at the trucker convoy represent so beautifully, another patriotic moment.
That's when aside, I haven't had patriotism, like true, like Canada for a long time, but it was there.
Beautiful
during the Freedom Convoy. Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. Wasn't that gorgeous? Until, of course, they trampled someone with a horse and came out with their stormtroopers and, shot the one rebel reporter, Alexa,
canisters.
With a canister, a gas can. Like it was
a
really
rebel journalist.
To see. Yeah, my colleague Alexa got nailed with a whatever tear gas can, and it was a nightmare. So when I saw that happen, it's hard not to just feel a little heavy-hearted about the future of your country. So I think Pierre can do something. Like he said, like Shawn said, it can't get worse. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. It could get worse, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, like we were like Trudeau's vision for us was to be a post-national state with no core identity.
That's right.
Like, what the fuck do you do with that? And so I have a friend, Daniel Clancy, who occasionally streams and does social media stuff. He is Australian, and on one stream he said, what is Australian culture? And you cannot say architecture, and you cannot say something else like I don't know, like a kangaroo, an animal, or like I said Vegemite. And he's like, no, that's not fucking culture, man. What is Australian culture? And then I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. And then he's like, what's Canadian culture? I'm like, oh my God, we are both post-nationalist states that have no identity whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, what, Bingo. Hockey? They do hockey in fucking Jamaica. Yep. I mean,
hockey and maple syrup. Is that what we have now?
That's not a culture. So we actually, our culture is our culture should have been loosely, basically British culture, but more chilly, with the occasional moose and a polar bear, and but it's gone. And Trudeau did that.
He did. He demoralized everyone.
I can't go into a Tim Hortons and see a Canadian.
No.
Wow.
Or any retail, honestly, it's crazy, actually. Yeah, like I said, even in my little small town region in Saskatchewan, it's and very rapid, and it happened very quickly. There was always a trickle of immigration, but it was never like this. So yeah, the core identity and the pride. Plus, of course, we're always being told that we're a genocidal, colonialist, racist nation, and we just love to hate on ourselves, I guess. It's been just a constant.
Residential schools, we killed all the kids. Then where are the bodies? Where are they? And don't.
Yeah, that whole scandal. That's a whole different stream. Yeah, it's wild.
I hate that bullshit. I hate it. Genocidal. It wasn't a genocide. It was a war, and we won. If they didn't have the foresight to realize that the fucking St. Lawrence River was going to be worth something one day, then that's too fucking bad for them. But no, it doesn't matter. Our Supreme Court was like, no, it's fine. We'll give you shit forever.
Oh, we're a mess here. We've been demoralized. We've been told all of the things, all of the leftist tropes. We're all the bad ists and isms. And of course, because there's the media subsidies, which we didn't get into either. That's another thing from the Liberal government, is massive media subsidies. We already have the CBC, which is subsidized to like billions of dollars. I think it's 1.2 or $2 billion a year. Plus there's a subsidy. So all of our media is bought, right? None of them actually can speak freely except independent outlets and citizen journalists who, with Bill C-63, were threatened of being either jailed or fined or shut down. So yeah, you just get a lot of we are propaganda heavy. And I got to say that as much as I hate it, they've done a good job. They have done a good job of brainwashing people.
And Brian, listen, I know you're trying to end this show, but you got me on, and I like to talk. We also have a little issue here that America doesn't suffer with, maybe a little bit, but we have human rights tribunals here across the country, and they for some reason, these human rights tribunals, who are staffed with people with blue hair and who scissor, they have more power than God. They have more power than God, so much that they can, if a mayor in some town doesn't want to put a pride flag somewhere, then that mayor, his personal fucking paycheck is going to get, garnished. And the town gets fined and shit like that. If a woman, if a beautician says, like, you know what, I don't want to wax the testicles of this woman, the human rights will go, no, that's a woman. Yeah, they got balls, but you fucking bigot. Sometimes women have balls. You must wax that manly meat ball vagina.
Jeez.
Just to end on that beautiful imagery, right?
If you have a problem with this, they'll be like, no, that's a $70,000 fine or life in prison.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Like
the most extreme punishment, a human rights tribunal. Like, what the fuck? This is like, it's like flaky bullshit, a human rights tribunal. Like, talk about some gay shit. They can give you life in prison.
Just for using your common sense and saying it. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, these aren't like judges. You haven't done a crime. You've said some no words. And they can be like, yeah, we're going to entirely decimate your business and your life. And good luck with your 1 hour outside a day. Enjoy your cell.
Well, our audience wants you to know that we are praying for all of you guys up in Canada because, I mean, like I say, we got our problems here, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat them, because we got to deal with our stuff. But man, we know you guys have got a long way to go. And
we're a warning. We're a warning. Do not become like Canada. Just don't do it. Absolutely. It's not wise.
I mean, if we're not warning enough, then there's England or Australia. It's pretty much don't be the Commonwealth, because we're all desperately fucked.
Oh, yeah, I tell you, England is a whole other thing we could do an entire show on, but
we'd love to.
That's for another night. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and bring the train into the station. Kelly, where can people find you on social media? What can they do to help and support you? Like I said, I know that, your content creation right now is kind of touch and go, but I'm not going to lie. We'd like to see all of you get going again, but again, that's up to you and your life and your schedule and everything else. So, but where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you more, find out more about what you've got to say?
So I am on X now. This is a new account. So this is terrible. I don't promote myself. I don't even know what my X handle is at this point. I think it's Kelly Lamb 86, maybe. Just look me up. You'll see my.
There's an 86.
Is that right? There we go. It's not the same as my old one. I had a big account I canned a couple of years ago, and so I'm back on X. You can find me there. I dabble. You can look me up on YouTube, Kelly Lamb. It's just pretty basic. I think I'm the only one that pops up. And slowly getting back into it. Lost our house to mold toxicity as a side note. So I've been pretty sick for a couple of years. So we're just in the middle of transition. Hence, I have no studio or anything. I used to be a little more professional. So yeah, slowly getting back into the ring, and might be doing a kind of joint show with a couple of friends here and there. So I'll keep anyone posted, probably on X. I would just let everybody know there and throw the links up. And yeah, it's been a pleasure though. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the good convo, Shawn, as well, and to all your wonderful guests and their comments. It's much appreciated.
Yeah,
and unbeknownst to everyone else, her mold problem was also Trudeau's fault.
Well, yeah, everything is Trudeau's fault.
As things progress in your country up there, I want both of you back to cover it with me, because you guys have been a load of fun. And I'm not just saying this either. You two have been a load of fun and extremely informative. You've set me straight on a whole bunch of stuff tonight. I think I can speak safely for the audience that, we definitely want you guys to come back. Shawn, where can people find you on social media? What can they do to help you out in everything you're working on?
You guys don't want to find me on social media. So hello, everyone. I am Shawn of Third Railify, and you can find me on YouTube at Third Railify, on X at Third Railify, and Rumble at Third Railify. That's what happens when you're really clever with your naming. It can be the same everywhere. And I do standalone videos, kind of like Tim Pool or Quartering. I try to get those out every day, but I do have 4 young autistic sons. I've said that a time or two, so I can't always get to the making of those videos all the time. They should be daily. Sometimes they're nearly daily, but also every Saturday night I do Saturday Night Off the Rails at 10 p.m. on Rumble. And that's a good time. We usually go through the news or have guests. And one day soon, hopefully, I'll have Kelly on. I'll have to flirt with her after the show and maybe convince her. And so follow me. We'll I don't know. We'll have a good time. And on X, I say a lot of spicy things that
really
people seem
I hadn't noticed.
I can't fathom it. Yeah. I don't believe.
Can't imagine you being spicy on Twitter. No,
sometimes I get mad, and when you get the voice to text going, shit just comes out. It's not me. It's the ADHD. I promise.
Well, again, thank you both for being here tonight. This has been a load of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And Kelly, I know we're probably stretching your time limits here, but hang on for a second. We're going to say some proper goodbyes backstage. Sure. Folks, this has been another wonderful session of Chatting on the Porch. I will be back this Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, for Front Porch Brunch, our weekend review of all things going on in the news. And oh, Lord, we're only 1 week into 2025, and there's all kinds of stuff busting loose. So join me there. Follow me on Twitter at The Front Porch C1. Follow me on Rumble and give me a sub at The Front Porch Conservative. And please follow me on YouTube at Talking on the Front Porch, which we are getting really close to 1,000, folks. I think we're we are knocking on heaven's door. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. See you Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. And in the meanwhile, stay safe out there, kids. We'll talk to you later.